What's up, everybody? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron. Today we're checking out the new album, Exhibition of Prowess, by the metalcore, kind of more hardcore band, Kublai Khan TX. For those of you who don't know, they added TX at the end of their name to avoid any lawsuit, legal issues with a band of the same name from the 80s. I believe they were a speed metal band. For those of you who don't know, there's a little bit of a little golden nugget for you. This is the band's 5th LP since they formed in 2009. Their first album that they released in 2015, titled Balance, Survival, and Happiness, was on alternative press lists best album of the year. Personally, I wasn't really that into it, mostly because I didn't like that style of music at the time. But when I go back and listen to it, I enjoy it a little bit more. It was pretty good. They kept the hype going in 2015 when they released their album New Strength. It had a little bit more of a rawness to the mix that I did like, and the vocals were somehow more pissed off. I really liked the direction that they were going in when they released Nomad in 2017. Musically, they were a little bit more dynamic and they had some really cool sounding grooves and the riffs. My favorite album from Kublai Khan TX, though, is easily Absolute. When they blessed us with this album back in 2019, it's all anybody was talking about, and it's all what most people were listening to. Some people didn't really like the mix, though. I thought it was great. It gave it more of a dark atmosphere, and I kind of liked just how heavy and more serious the mix made everything, let alone the music in general. And then I kind of forgot about them until 4 years later when they released their first single for Exhibition of Prowess, titled Theory of Mind. Honestly, I felt like the intro to this song was a little silly, but the breakdown that comes after it, before it goes into the verses, makes you quickly forget about it. The official breakdown is sandwiched between verses 1 and 2, and they're just so fantastic. They're just a wall of sound with this haunting guitar melody kind of hanging out in the background. And then they released the single Low Tech, which focuses more on drums and just a gritty sounding guitar riff. The lyrics are aggressive, but at the same time, they do have their funny, silly moments. I wasn't really feeling this one all that much. There wasn't anything that hooked me musically, and vocally, the hook just wasn't really there for me either. The low-tech kind of catchphrase, it just wasn't really doing anything for me. But then they released their last single for this album, which is also the opening track, titled Supreme Ruller. One of my viewers said that this is basically the musical form of a middle finger, and I couldn't agree more. It's so simple. It has a fat riff. It's like a minute long. The lyrics are kind of cheesy, saying that Khan is king. And I don't know, it's so badass. I absolutely love it. The first time I heard it, I was like, okay, this is a single. But then the second time I heard it, I was like, this is something, it goes hard. And I just absolutely love it. They followed it up with the song Darwinism, which tells you to headbang harder than you ever have before in your life. The breakdown hits around the midpoint in the song, and it's so sick. The riff just keeps going. It's so relentless. And then it shows up again for the outro. And then we have the song Cannibal, which opens things up with a 30-second instrumental, which is absolutely beautiful. It has a few transitions in the verse, keeping the energy up, giving it a little bit more of like a progressive feel to it. The breakdown features Dave Peters, and he helps so much break up the monotony of the vocals that honestly could become kind of tiring. You don't really notice it until you get a different vocal performance in there, and it's just such a breath of fresh air. At first I was like, what's a feature gonna do? But it is absolutely needed. The next song, X, is a 45-second beatdown that's celebrating the straight edge lifestyle. Mud follows it up, and it makes you want to start stomping around your bedroom. The guitar has some really cool parts to it that go beyond just, I don't want to say mindless, but mindless chugging that this style of music is usually, stereotypically known for, especially in the outro, which calls for cymbals to fill in all the open spaces. It's very stereotypical, and I absolutely love it at the same time, but I felt like this song was kind of lacking. It's a really good hype song. I know basically every single song is built for a live performance to get the crowd and the mosh pit and the circle pit going as hard as they possibly can. But this one felt the most empty in terms of having any substance to it, and mostly just focused strictly on a live crowd and getting them as intense as they possibly can. And I feel like because of that, live, this is going to go nuts. 972 is easily my favorite song off of this album. It is just so fantastic. This is the one song that I kept going back to, listening to over and over again, due to the riffs that have some harmonics thrown in there, and it just sounds so much more colorful. Again, beyond just the mindless chugging, it kind of reminds me of like 2010s metalcore riff, something you would hear from like Killswitch Engage or As I Lie Dying. The song just has such a really good flow to it, and overall the lyrics are good, but they're pretty funny at times, makes it a little bit more enjoyable. And then we have the song A Hopeless Fate, a song that I couldn't really wait to get to when I realized that it was featuring Jamie Josta, like way back in like when this album was first announced. I saw the track list. This was the song that I just absolutely had to hear. The riff again has a really cool old school metal core quality to it, and it just sounds so freaking good, especially when Jamie comes in. He adds so much to this song, makes it so versatile. His vocals are very recognizable, and it just puts a smile on your face. And again, it's like you don't really realize that the vocals are becoming a little tiresome, a little dull, but as soon as you hear a feature, it's a breath of fresh air. It feels so nice, even though it's along the same kind of lines of what you've been hearing this whole time anyways. It's very refreshing, and it's very needed, even though you don't really think it is until you hear it. And that brings us to the closing track, Antpile 2, which is the part 2 for their opening track off of their album Nomad of the same name, Antpile. It's a minute long. It's just a bunch of pinched octaves, more pinched octaves than you could shake a stick at. It definitely delivers on that in-your-face attitude of them just not giving a F, but at the same time, I was kind of disappointed in it. I was hoping for a little bit more. The first Antpile, I don't know, I just wanted more. I felt like there's going to be more hype into it, a callback to one of their older songs, especially off of the album that I absolutely adore. I just want a little bit more from it. I don't know. This isn't an album that I feel like needs to have closure to it. You know, it's not a concept album or anything like that, but something more than a minute long, maybe some lyrics thrown in there. I mean, I guess there are, if you want to get technical, but it felt a little lazy. I felt like they just kind of sat down and started riffing something out. They couldn't come up with a name of it, so they just kind of threw it at the end of it and called it Antpile 2 just for the hell of it. I feel like this album was pretty sick. It's less than 25 minutes long, so it doesn't really overstay its welcome, even though it is just meant to be a punch in the face. There's not a lot of different sounds in it, but it's over before you even really notice. The riffs have some really cool grooves. They got some cool licks thrown in there, some more dynamics. The vocals are a perfect fit for the music, and they fit in the mix really well. The features help out a lot to really break up the monotony of them. Just don't expect any surprises. This is Kublai Khan. They do what they do. They found a formula and they stick to it. They're not doing anything revolutionary, but at the same time, I feel like that's kind of hurting them more now, because this feels like a less version of Absolute, instead of improving on that sound. With Kublai Khan, it felt like every album that they were releasing was just a little bit better. It was a little bit heavier, a little bit more pissed off, had a little bit stronger grooves and riffs to it. And I feel like they reached that peak with Absolute, and now they're kind of going down a little bit. I feel like they just need to change something up in some way to make it feel like they're on the rise again. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like they just need to do something a little bit different. And because of that, I gotta give Exhibition of Prowess by Kublai Khan TX a 6.6 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. I have a feeling most people are going to be pretty happy with this, because if you're a Kublai Khan fan, this is what you want. So leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Exhibition of Prowess. Let me know what you would rate it, and what your favorite song is, and why it is 972. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. That helps out so much with YouTube's algorithm. It will keep my videos popping up in the recommended section on your YouTube page. And also, if you want to help support me further than that, please don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell icon. Doing any of those things helps me out tremendously, and I just thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me sit here and talk about music. I appreciate you a lot, and I hope you have a good rest of your day or night whenever you happen to be watching this, and I will talk to you guys next time.